The sky was red that day. All the smoke, all the crap that had been filling the air all summer, it put everything in an amber red light, like looking at the world through hell-colored glasses. That's how I first saw Yonkers, this little, depressed, rust-colored burb just north of New York City. I don't think anybody ever heard of it. I sure as hell hadn't. And now it's up there with, like, Pearl Harbor. No, not Pearl Harbor. That was a surprise attack. This was more like Little Bighorn, where we, well, at least the people in charge, they knew what was up, or they should have. The point is, it wasn't a surprise, the war, or the emergency, or whatever you want to call it. It was already on. It had been, what, like 3 months since we jumped on the panic train? You remember what it was like. People just freaking out, boarding up their houses, stealing food, guns, and shooting everything that moved. They probably killed more people, the Rambos and the runway fires and the traffic incidents and the whole shitstorm that we now call the Great Panic. I think that killed more people at first than Zach. I guess I can see why the powers that be thought that one big stand-up battle was such a good idea. They wanted to show the people that they were still in charge, get them to calm the hell down so they could deal with the real problem. I get it. And because they needed a propaganda smackdown, I ended up in Yonkers. I did my best to control my fire and my sphincter. Just go for the head, I kept telling myself. Keep together, just go for the head. We could have stopped them. We should have. One guy with a rifle, that's all you need, right? Professional soldiers, trained marksmen. How could they get through? They still ask that. Critics and armchair patons who weren't there. You think it's that simple? You think that after being trained to aim for the center mass your whole military career, you can suddenly make an expert headshot every time? I found myself staring into the cloud of black smoke where the horde had been. The freeway, the houses, everything was covered by this midnight cloud. I vaguely remember other guys getting out of their holes, hatches opening on tanks and Bradleys, everyone just staring into the darkness. There was a quiet, a stillness that, in my mind, lasted for hours. And then they came, right out of the smoke like a friggin' little kid's nightmare. Some were steaming, some were even still burning. Some were walking, some crawling, and some just dragging themselves along their torn bellies. Maybe 1 in 20 was still able to move, which left, a couple thousand, and behind them, mixing with their ranks and pushing steadily towards us, the remaining million that the airstrike hadn't even touched. What did we call the first round of Gulf War II? Shock and awe? Perfect name, shock and awe. But what if the enemy can't be shocked and awed? No, just won't, but biologically can't. That's what happened that day outside New York City. That's the failure that almost lost us the whole damn war. The fact that we couldn't shock and awe Zach boomeranged right back in our faces and actually allowed Zach to shock and awe us. They're not afraid. No matter what we do, no matter how many we kill, they will never, ever be afraid. World War Z, an oral history of the zombie war by Max Brooks.